Welcome back to a new episode of Diary of an Executive. In this episode, I'll be talking everything self-love and self-trust with our 2026 Marketing Director, Hritu Saha, and our 2026 Social Media Manager, Ameesha Singh. Hi Hritu, hi Ameesha. How have you both been doing?
I've been doing really well. Back to uni, back to being busy, but I've been having a lot of fun.
What about you, Ameesha?
Yeah, uni's been quite hectic, but I'm really excited to get started doing things again.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed my break too, so this year's looking pretty exciting for me.
Has it been like a slow start or, just right into it?
I think for me, because I was traveling for 2 months in the holidays, just like from different, I went to China, Singapore, and India. And so because I was traveling, I had a bit of a break. And then once I'm back, it's like all the responsibilities of work, society, uni is like just all happening at the same time. But it's good to get back into a routine.
Yeah, sometimes like that transition, it's not that smooth. It's just shocking, especially if you were traveling.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a different person when I'm traveling as well. I'm like so spontaneous and I get to relax more. But it's good to get back into like my hobbies and my passions as well.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we've got this tradition on our podcast. At the beginning of every episode, I ask the same question to our guests. It's basically, what is personal growth? What does it mean to you?
Okay, for me, personal growth is a way of being very intentional with yourself and making sure you fulfill specific aspects of your life, including your mind. So you take care of your mindset, you make sure I personally journal, I make sure I have a good relationship with myself. Second pillar is body. I make sure I go to the gym, I walk my dogs every day, I make sure I drink my water, I do everything that's good for my body. And my final pillar is the soul. I make sure I reconnect with my inner child. I dance, I have different hobbies, and I also try to make sure I connect with different communities as well and feel fulfilled in these 3 areas.
Yeah, that's a very interesting way of describing it, even the soul part. I know you're a creative person also.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a missing element of personal growth sometimes. Like we always just think about the mental and the physical, but creativity also helps feed that.
Yeah, I think it balances it out because sometimes when you're always working or when you're always at the gym, it's the really grind mindset. And I think with creativity, it allows me to really just be in tune with my inner self and express myself as well.
Yeah, so true. What about you, Ameesha?
Well, I feel like personal growth is a little bit simpler for me as well. I could really just tie it down to one word, which is resilience. And I really remember this story back in primary school when we would just get sorted into our classes and our PE, our head of our school would just come in and just say, hey, you guys need to know about resilience. And back when we were younger, we didn't really know what it meant. They were you're going into your new classes and, things are going to change. And now, looking back at it, I think it was a really valuable speech because it means that you're always going to bounce back from any experience you have and you're always going to try your best every day. So that's what it is for me.
I think that's very important because also resilience, it helps you just make sense of things sometimes or just not have a bad perception of life because of what you've been through. It gives you that edge, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, so in this episode, we're going to be talking about self-love, as I mentioned. What is self-love for you? And do you think it's just about loving yourself, or is it also about loving yourself and being kind and compassionate and gentle with yourself while you're learning whatever it is that you're learning or while you're experiencing highs and lows?
For me, I think self-love is really having a good understanding of what your identity is because everyone loves different things, whether you're artistic, whether you love to draw, whether you love to do Sudoku, whether you love your own personal time, whether you love binging things, okay? I feel like self-love is really understanding how you react to things, how you handle things, how you're able to recover from things, and how you basically feel good every day. So that's what self-love is to me. Yeah.
For me, self-love is a very important pillar of personal growth. So you have personal growth and then self-love is a little branch that comes out of it, and it's the part of life that keeps you grounded within yourself because let's admit, life is there's so many external things happening all the time, there's so many people you will meet, and self-love is the act of intentionally choosing to trust your own opinions, trust your own values, and trust your own identity amidst all the chaos.
I feel like that's also really important in a uni environment as well because we're all young adults and we're growing into our own shell and we got so many different influences around us. So I guess self-love is really choosing who you want to be and sticking with it as well.
Yeah. I read this personal growth book. It's called It Begins With You, which basically it talks about like how everything starts with you, like whatever happens in your life or however way you respond, it all is linked to like something that you could fix in yourself, I guess. So it's really important to have that relationship with yourself. Yeah, and it's, I guess, a journey. Like self-love is something tough. Like I don't think everyone is like able to get there as quick as others.
Exactly, because you have to be self-aware as well. Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
Yeah.
What do you think it takes to reach a state of self-love? What do we need to arrive there? You mentioned self-awareness. Is there anything else that you think is important?
Well, for me, self-love isn't like, it's not a destination, it's more of a journey. So there is no threshold to reaching self-love. I think you can start practicing self-love from right now.
Yeah.
You know, it's all about accepting your mistakes. It's about understanding who you really are through your values, like being more integritous to yourself. And it's like a journey that you go through at every single stage of your life. Yeah.
For me, I kind of see it as a muscle, okay?
Yeah.
And if you keep practicing it, then you'll get better at it. And there's no like threshold to it. I feel like the ceiling keeps getting higher and higher. And when you love yourself more, you see your life getting better in every single way possible.
Yeah.
So it's so good to practice.
Yeah, and I like the point that you mentioned, and your point also, but I like the point that you mentioned, like how it's continuous, like different life stages. Like even, for example, I hear a lot of stories about pregnant women. Like once like they've given birth, like the body changes, their self-love can get affected. So like you might feel like you have self-love now, but it could like fluctuate throughout life.
That's true. Yeah. I think for self-love, it's just so broad as well, because you can obviously love yourself at different times of life. Like I think and you also need like different types of love too.
Yeah.
I think one thing is like self-love is not just like complimenting yourself all the time, but it's also like reflecting back on your past and either journaling and developing a really good relationship with yourself. So when you are alone in moments in time, like you don't feel lonely, like you feel a sense of solitude, or you're more excited to spend time with yourself, because being alone, it doesn't scare you at all. Like it's more like you really respect yourself in that way as well.
Yeah, it's really profound.
And also in the converse, you can also see self-love as something that you can also stem from your relationship with other people. Because when you chat with other people and when they help you get a good space to talk about your things, you feel like, you know, you can get over things better and love yourself better, because they have a different perspective on the things that you go through too.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can learn from the people who are around you, and just like that circumstance that you described before, like I think it's really good to choose good partners for you that can go through those things that you're going through, because it's really hard.
Yeah,
to go
even
that.
like girls, we like to vent to each other, and like I've read this thing that apparently like it helps like reduce our cortisol. It helps like in so many ways, like on a health level. And like I actually feel it whenever I like vent to a girl. It's like you release everything.
And we just get each other.
Some things like guys can't get, so we have to.
I also think it's a lot like to reach a state of self-love, it's like trying to put a lot more value in on your own opinions. I think for so much of life, like we are put into like the education system, or we're put into like a competitive space, and it's always, there's so much competition and comparison, and like that hinders self-growth or self-love as well. It like hearing opinions from social media and from other people, like that is something that can impact us a lot and like take away from our self-love. So I think the act of self-love is to like let go of all the noise and the clutter that is happening around the world around us, and instead focus it and narrow it down to yourself and choose you regardless of all the noise. Yeah,
I can relate to that. Even like school, they always put us in a competitive environment. They're always putting us up against each other, but at the end of the day I feel like they're just doing that because they want like high grades, which will boost their rankings and their reputation. But like that travels with us when we grow up, and if we're not self-aware to like stop that, it can affect our future relationships, because we just see other people as competition. So it's really like unhealthy and toxic the way they put us in these systems. And like we're young, we don't really know. Like once we come to uni and like we grow up, we become aware and we know that it's wrong.
Yeah, and it really is an act of not allowing, like it, as hard as it is, it's like developing a more internal way of validating yourself rather than relying on the external, whether it's like appraisal from your parents or appraisal from the education system, or just like achieving things all the time. It's like more grounding it, like without all of the praise and without all the achievements, like who are you? Like you can, I guess, validate yourself through your own integrity.
Yeah. And I think they always like attribute our worth to what we're achieving, but they don't like give us like, you know, credit for who we are, like for our traits. Like if you're a kind person, like why isn't that more celebrated than, for example, if you get a high grade? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so next question is, in your opinion and in theory, what do you think the main barriers are to reaching a state of self-love? We kind of touched on that a bit, but more broadly.
I think negative self-talk is one of it, and being very harsh on yourself.
Yeah.
I think like as people, we're naturally inclined to want something better for ourselves. And also I think I was listening to a psychology podcast, and we have a negative bias as well.
Yeah.
Like whenever something happens, even if it's like objective, like neutral, we will always think of the negatives first. And I think if we're constantly thinking about what could go wrong, we never trust ourselves, and we always just, or something does go wrong. It's like when you're beating yourself up about a past mistake, that takes away from self-love. I think like maybe taking it more constructively, instead of beating yourself up, think of like accept the mistake and then reflect on like how you can improve and take it in a really constructive way. And also like celebrating our wins is something that we should all be doing more, no matter like how small the win is. I think is very important to, I guess, like take away from like hurting your self-love.
Yeah, 100%.
The barriers to self-love. I think sometimes like we always get so like in our head over things, and we overthink and we repeat situations, scenarios, and I think it really draws away from what you need to do, which is basically just, you know, be really mindful of it and be constructive with yourself. Like if you treat yourself like a friend, you know, treat yourself like your best friend or someone that you really, really, you know, care about as well. Would you treat your best friend like the way that you talk to yourself as well? You know, it's like similar to that. So you really need to be constructive, like Hritu said, like with yourself, like be positive about things as well, like with your achievements too. And
Yeah. Do you think that like people sometimes tend to focus more on like what they don't have or things that they're still developing in themselves, which like a lot of people say weaknesses, but I don't want to use that word, but like things that you're still working on in yourself? Like, do they look at the cup that's half full more than did I say that right? The cup that's half empty more than the one that's half full?
Yeah.
Do you think that's a factor that influences like self-love, that leads to less self-love?
I think yes, it can, but it depends on the way you go about it also. I think if you take the mindset of, that's like you know how there's an abundance mindset and then a limiting mindset.
Yeah.
So if you take it from like a very like negative perspective of like, oh, I don't have this, or how I don't have this, and then you take what you don't have as a reflection of your self-worth, then that is negative, and that actually takes away from self-love. But if you look at like what you don't have, and I think like in general as people, we always want to improve, we want to do better, like there's always things that we do want, but if you look at the things you don't have yet, you can think of it in a more positive light, in the sense that you can be like, oh yeah, like I don't have it now, but I will in the future, and I will work towards it, and I'm proud of myself that I show up as me and I work hard every single day to get to where I want to. And if you look at the lack but then work towards it, I think it's okay. But it's like it's a very gentle balance between the two, and like you can fall in either sides.
Yeah. It's very tricky.
Yeah, I do agree with that. And I also think that, especially like when you're coming with that, when we're reaching this stage where we've got so many goals and things that we want to achieve, like you have to be really mindful of what you can do in a day or what you can do in a week. So you have to be realistic with your goals. And that's like what Hritu said, with having like a careful balance between, you know, like this is what I do need to work on, this is what I'm doing great in. So if you're, you know, positive about it and you think about the good that you're doing and, you know, balance it with, oh yeah, like I can do this like next week, and, you know, put that in the medium priority, you know, it's good when you're being realistic with what you can achieve as well. Yeah.
I also think it's like you always have to acknowledge that you're on your own timeline. I think the concept of timelines is like constantly pushed upon like when you're in your young 20s, like, you know, you have like so much happens in this decade of your life, like you're studying, you might, you know, get your first job, and then you like try to, you know, pick your career, and then you might have a family later down the line, or you might like, it's all up to you, like you're kind of like crafting this good chunk of your life in this decade. And for so long, like people always put like, oh yeah, by the time you're 18 you should get into a uni degree, and then by the time you're like in your early 20s you should graduate, and then your first job by a certain year, and it's like always like such dedicated timelines that's like socially acceptable. And I think when we have these social timelines given to us, like we always like if we don't meet that timeline, or we look at other people who are, and if you take it that you're not along that timeline as well, like it might hurt you. But I think the best reminder that you can give yourself is like you are on your own timeline, and everything is happening for a reason, and that you will figure it out as you go, and just like trust yourself a bit more that like this is your timeline, like you are in control of your own life, and you don't have to follow these social timelines.
Plus, if you think about it, like not everyone's life, like not everyone has the same story. So if we're all walking on the same timeline, how are we supposed to have different stories by the end of it? So it's more healthy, or it's more normal to be like on different timelines. And like even say, for example, you gave the example of like coming to uni at 18. If you come, say, for example, at 24, you're much more mature. Even like study skills could be like easier for you than like at 18. Like you just finished school. What do you know about the world? Yeah. Okay, so the next question is, this one's interesting. The world is already tough and challenging as it is. Sometimes we put additional pressure on ourselves internally. So we stress ourselves out. We put pressures, expectations, timelines. Do you think that we're harsher than on ourselves than we should be? Like, I know we're working towards goals, but do we sometimes overdo it?
Yes.
Definitely.
I agree.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think personally, I have always been like a high achiever. Like I like things to a specific standard. I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I'm also a bit of an overthinker when it comes to things too. Like I think about it, and I think it all stems from the fact that like I just purely care so much about what I do, and like everything I do, I care so much, and I have so much passion for my life, and so like I just don't want to like mess up, or like I want it to reach the quality that I've set for myself. And so like I've seen, like from personal experience, I've seen in the past where like I set such high goals, and then if I don't reach the goals in set amount of time, like I will, you know, I'll make it harder on myself. And so like even though there is like meeting like not meeting a goal by a timeline, for example, like even though there's that, like that's hard as it is, then you're kind of like hurting yourself twice by beating yourself up mentally as well, and like saying like, oh, like, and like letting that impact you, and that actually takes away from your ability to continue and be resilient and like go forward. So I've had to like really rewire mistakes and like losses in a way of like, rather than viewing them as like something that's tied to like my self-love, I tie it to like an opportunity to be like, it's such a blessing to have challenges to work on. It's such a blessing to do hard things. Like I take it in a way of like I get the privilege to actually work on these hard things and like improve on mistakes, because that's what makes life richer. Like life is more rich when we do have problems, because when we do solve through the problems, like we feel so much more accomplished, and we feel so grateful that we've had problems to solve through, and it makes life more enriching.
And you become more resilient.
And just to like investigate deeper into that question, we were talking about how the world is really harsh right now. What problems do you think our generation faces right now with how harsh the world is? A lot. Like we've got social media,
AI
as well, AI.
Just the anxiety of it, like you don't know what we're heading
exactly,
towards.
like overpopulation as well.
I think even like social connection in general, like has been substituted for online connection, and like even on like with the bus or the metro, like every single person is on their phone, like no one talks, and it's just like it's so refreshing to. Or sometimes I feel like I'm built different when I'm like reading a book.
Feels so
like,
old school.
I'm like, am I like an honest status, or am I just like mysterious? But no, when I'm like reading like a tangible book, like it feels like enriching. Or when I'm like walking my dogs and viewing, like appreciating nature, like I feel like it's so refreshing. Or like when I'm having like a conversation with a friend while walking, like it's that fills my cup so much more than like constantly like being connected online. And I do think there's just so many problems that come with social media, but that's like a whole nother tangent.
I feel like for me, like something that I really appreciated recently was when I finished my 8 to 5 work and I just walked across Barangaroo Reserve. I got myself a yochi. I just sat there and I looked at the water, and it just really helped me like unwind after my day as well. Like I know that like, you know, people were still in the office and they're still working hard as well, but I was also like mindful of myself as well. Like, you know, I've got university, I'm so young as well, like I was the youngest person in the office as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, I also need time to like balance like, you know, things that I need to do for me as well.
Yeah.
Nature
So-
really helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, really does.
Yeah.
Like sometimes just to rebalance your thoughts, I just sit in it. Like I journal also, but sometimes I feel like journaling kind of sends you down that path of becoming like analytical and critical.
Yeah.
Whereas like just sitting, being, not doing anything.
Being
just,
present in the
yeah,
moment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You just train your mind to just be there and not wander everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like for me, I'd say like one issue that everyone goes through is like when you're in uni, especially, is like picking your path, like your career path, and like it can get existentialized. Like, what is my life's purpose? What am I supposed to do? And so like when I do like try to explore different career paths, I also make sure I appreciate whatever wins I already have, and like just trust that I'll eventually get what I want. And even like after a extremely like long, like a busy week like this week, like it's first week, I've had like society work, so much marketing to do, and then I have work. I work 4 days a week, and then uni's on top, and it's like I do law and IT, so it's like a hard balance as well. But like the moments that I actually like schedule in frolic time throughout my day, and it's literally just like 1 hour, and I will walk around my neighborhood, or I'll walk around the city after work, or like take the ferry from work instead of a bus, and I romanticize that whole experience. Like it's like a full movie for me. Like I'll get myself a sweet treat, I'll put my headphones on, like my music, and it just feels so peaceful to have that one moment of me time for myself, just to reset and really appreciate life. And I think romanticizing the experience, like I'm not saying like romanticize your problems. I think with problems there's like a whole process that you should process problems and like think about it. But then like with things that you like want to improve on, like just romanticize the hard experience as much as you can, because it does really make it a little bit more enjoyable.
Yeah, it relieves the pressure of it sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think like from like a personal growth mindset as well, when you think about the problems you face today compared to the problems you were facing like a year ago, you can literally see how much you've grown.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So I know we're harsh on ourselves every day when we think about, oh, you know, this is tough, this is hard, but we also really need to think about the bigger picture of the things, like, you know, what we've done, and really appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think also we're at a life stage where everything's super new. Like the transition from school to uni is pretty big. Like before that, the major transition that we had was probably from primary to high school, but we were still at school. It's still the same institution. Like you're not really doing much in your life other than like school, friends, if you're working a casual job. But then when you go out into uni, like you've got a career to build, you've got experiences to have, you meet so many new people, then you're navigating so many new types of relationships, and then like if you're solving problems from the past, and then if you're looking into the future, and then the anxiety of the future, it's like so much. It can become overwhelming, which is why like I'm asking this question, because it's already tough at this stage, and I know like uni students would be watching us now, and then we would put that extra pressure, which just increases that load even more. So I think if we just become more like aware, I guess, so that we could not beat ourselves up, I guess.
Exactly, because even like when you're thinking about something or stressing about something, it's like that energy that you're emitting, and it just makes you so much more tired as well. So, you know, it's really good to just self-regulate that as well, and really be mindful.
I think like if life is already, I guess, hard in itself, but like don't make it harder on yourself by overthinking it and like just being all in your head. I think try to schedule time for yourself, or try to spend time with friends and talk it through. I think like a lot of the times we feel like we're really alone in the issues that we're going through, but I do think when you open up about it, or like empathize with other people, like you're actually not alone. Like so many people go through the same thing, and like even if you don't have a solution for it, it's so much relieving when like you feel like you're not behind, because everyone else also feels the same, or everyone else is also like going through these issues as well. And like the act of like connecting and empathizing about it helps a lot as well.
Yeah, even just getting it out of your head.
Yeah.
Okay, another topic that's very closely related to self-love is self-forgiveness. Can you tell me about your own understanding of self-forgiveness and any practical tips that you could share on how we can become more self-forgiving?
I think like personally coming from a selective high school background, I was always around this environment where you were pushed like educationally and like everyone around you would, like compare each other, your marks, your ranks and so forth. And I guess like because I moved from like a mid-tier school to a top-tier selective school, I also felt like I was like a little bit behind in things and like my skills like weren't at the same as like my cohort and my peers around me. But I guess now, like, I've kind of grown to understand that my talents are in different areas and I really appreciate them more as well. Like, you can't just compare yourself to the people around you. You have to admire what you love about yourself and what your strengths are too. So I feel like that was something that I had to learn and understand over time. It doesn't take, like a short process. Like, it's a really long process to understand, like, what those experiences were. Why did you actually act that way in that moment as well? And what will you do in the future? Because we can't really focus too much on the past, but what we can do is think about the present and how we're going to move forward from that as well. Yeah.
I think it's a bit difficult as girls. We very, like, straight away we get into that comparison trap.
Yeah.
It's very easy for us to compare, like, ourselves to another girl. But I think, just appreciating, like, what you already have. And, like, I think in society they always make us think that we have to, like, be beautiful, intelligent, have a like personality, like everything. It's like this checklist and you have to tick it all. So if like someone feels like they don't have one or like they don't have a couple, it's like, and then she has it, it's like, oh, like it creates like that, I guess, defensiveness between girls. So it's really unhealthy.
Yeah. I think for a tip for self-forgiveness that was really useful for me. So I think maybe like a few years ago, I was kind of going through like an identity crisis. I was going through it really like a tough time mentally, and I was really like introspective and looking in on like, who am I, like what am I doing, and I was also like reflecting back a lot on mistakes I had made or why, like just like being a bit more harsher on myself. I was in that negative like mindset and the cycle of constantly like overthinking. And like what helped me the most is I was looking in a lot of personal growth people. I think, do you know Tam Kaur?
Oh yeah.
Tam Kaur. She has this book called Buy Yourself the Goddamn Flowers. And it's all about self-love. She has a whole podcast on self-love too. And that really helped me through, because I'm an oldest daughter. I'm the oldest sister out of 3 sisters. So I think for me, having like listening to her felt like a older sister talking to me, because I don't have like anyone I can like go to and be like, oh yeah, give me advice. And I feel like I'm handling things for the first time by myself. But she gave this tip where she reparents her inner child, and so she actually has a picture of her baby self on her in her wallet, and she like remembers like what she was like when she was little, and she would, I guess, like she talks to herself now the way that she would talk to herself when she was little, because like in the end, like it's the little girl that, well, the little girl within me that like I'm being mean to. Like, why would I ever be mean to that little girl? And even with self-love, like what I'm trying to do is like I want to live a life that younger me would be proud of, and like make sure that I do attain the dreams that I wanted as a kid, and I do maintain that like happy idealistic life that I dreamt of as a child. And so I guess reconnecting with your inner child and making your inner child proud and taking care of yourself the way you would take care of a child definitely has helped me as well. Yeah,
I think this year I also got into that concept of like speaking to your inner child. I even put on my vision board like images of like baby me. So then it could like remind me of like for who I'm working towards. There's also, you mentioned what was her name?
Tam Kaur.
I also follow the Wizard Liz. I don't know. I feel like she gives off like similar energy, like older sister, and like advice and that kind of thing. And like I remember like a couple of years ago I would go on walks and I'd put her in my ears and I'm just listening to her. It was really nice. Okay, I'm going to move on to something like another topic, but it's very closely related to self-love, and it's self-trust. Is self-trust something that you find easy, or do you struggle with it, or is it somewhere in between?
I think self-trust is probably one of my biggest problem areas, because I feel like not being the oldest child, I'm the youngest child, so that means that like, every decision I was like, I felt like it was made for me, and like, like I was like very codependent on everyone around me. So now like as I'm getting older, like I have to trust myself more that I'm making the right decisions for me, like, even if they don't align with other people's perspectives, like, I've just got to learn that what you did is basically like what you got to trust yourself doing.
I'd say for me, so much of life was like I had set this one path for myself, like study law, become like a big tier lawyer or something like that. And like I had this like defined path that I was really dead set on like following. And so like I kind of went on autopilot, like always like working hard towards this one goal. But then when I slowly realized that like there's like more to life than just this one path. Like I can do so many things. I have so many other interests as well. And for me, self-trust did like wobble a little bit, but yeah, for me, self-trust was developed by trusting the inner voice within myself and like trying new things and putting myself out there and like taking a lot of more actions rather than just thinking about it as well. So I guess like if personal growth is like the overarching umbrella or like the tree, then you have the branch of self-love. I think self-trust is like connected to self-love. Like they're intertwined together because like they can impact each other. But I will say like sometimes, like I'd say I love myself. I do have self-love, but I don't trust myself in a lot of things. And because I don't trust myself, I notice myself kind of falling into a trap of over giving. I give so much, I put in so much like effort into, I put 100% in every single thing I do, and I do so many different things. And I guess like because I do that because I don't trust that things will be fine, I like overextend and compensate for like that lack of self-trust. And in the end, that leaves me more drained. So one thing I'm working on right now is trying to improve my self-trust and like trust that things will be okay. Like you don't always need to know, you don't always have to be certain or overextend, and just like trust yourself that everything will work out and like calm down a bit.
Yeah. Not to keep saying that like girls are different to guys, but we overgive. Like that's something in our gender. I was going to say something about what you said. I don't know, I forgot. If I remember, I'll tell you. Okay, I have a question also about self-trust. What compromises it and what makes it wobble on one foot? Like you mentioned, sometimes you feel like what you're doing isn't enough, so you just keep on adding and adding and adding. Like for example, for me, I feel like if I do something, like if I have a vision and I thought I'm able to meet that vision and then I don't, I feel like that could compromise my self-trust because like you thought you were able to do it but then you weren't able to.
Exactly, because like when you have such high standards for yourself, you know, you think and you know appreciate a standard of, you know, perfection, and then when you don't reach that, or like when something falls a little amiss, you know, you kind of a little bit trust yourself less because you know you think that, oh, it didn't turn out the way I, you know, wanted it to. But I guess that also comes with that thing that Hritu was saying before about admiring the journey of it. It's not always about the outcome, it's about the journey and the skills that you learn from it as well.
That I've been learning that lesson recently. Because like for example, something that I've been like following a journey in is my singing. I've been taking lessons and then I'm like improving way more now than I was before. And so I'm kind of seeing the finish line more now, but I'm also thinking like once I reach that finish line, it's like it's over. So appreciating like those ups and lows and that journey is also important, because if that's not fun, then sometimes the end result you don't get what you thought you would get.
Like a sense of fulfillment?
It's like one emotion and it goes. It's done.
Yeah, I think for things that make self-trust wobble is when you don't do self-trust. Like it sounds like ironic, but it's like when you don't trust yourself. So like you're trusting other people's validation, their opinions, their thoughts about what you should do with your own life more than your own self. So whether that be like what your parents want you to study or what career path everyone else says that you should go into, like, and like really putting weight and value into all the external validation, that is like so detrimental to your self-trust. Because I've also noticed it when I was in my first and second year studying, and I really wanted an internship, a corporate internship, and I would ask everyone I knew like for advice. I would ask so many people for advice, and because I was constantly asking for advice from networking events, from parents, from friends, from everyone, you get so much advice from so many different people, and you don't know like what you should follow. And I think like asking for advice is good, but then I think it's your responsibility to pick and choose the advice that is true to you, because everyone will give you advice, but like trusting yourself to pick your own path without the advice is something I've definitely learned, and just like forging my own path through there. I remember in high school, I did a major work for my extension to English, and it was a suit of performance poetry. I love poetry a lot as well, and when it came to, I guess, editing that whole thing, like I obviously like relied on the opinions of my teachers for validation a lot, and we actually, like, my English teacher was really great, but then we showed the draft to a extension 2 marker. She was a different teacher at the time, and she gave really bad advice on it. She said like, oh yeah, like this is too assertive, or it's like too powerful, like you need like lower your tone and your voice down a bit. Like she gave like negative feedback, and I took that to heart a lot, because like, and this was one week before it was due, so I'd spent a year pouring my heart into this thing that was
timing.
it was like a piece of poetry, like a suit that was like a representation of my culture, my identity, and then I kind of let that like wobble because I took her words to heart. But then afterwards, like I said, like, I'm not going to change it. Like, I'm not going to follow her advice. I stuck to what I thought was good, and it actually did really, really well. And like she was wrong, but she was wrong. And like I look back at that moment, especially and I use that moment in life as like a metaphor, or like a really good lesson, because like I will get advice from people who might seem senior than me or more experienced or better. But the thing is, like, it's just so much more rewarding, and it's so nice when you stay true to yourself and you pick what advice you want to apply to your life. It gives you more agency in your life, and that's something that can help get past the detrimental aspect of relying on external validation for self-trust.
I think it sort of like extends from that tree that we were talking about: personal growth, self-love, self-trust, and then we've got discernment. Because with self-trust, you need discernment to know that, you know, these are the external forces and this is my internal goals, and you know, this is the discernment that I'm going to use to make my own decisions, and I'm not going to let it falter me.
Yeah, and sometimes no one knows you as well as yourself. Even your family, like, they've lived with you all your life, but sometimes there are maybe some sides of you that they don't know, or even you, like, you haven't seen everything about them. You've seen them in certain like environments, circumstances, but like, for example, our parents, we don't know them how they were like before they got married. Like, they could be completely different. Like, I'm starting to see sides of my parents. Sometimes I'm like, I've never seen this. And like, I think the more you grow up, also the more like aware and educated you become, you start picking up on things you didn't pick up on when you were younger. That's
Definitely.
very like, it's happening a lot now in my life.
I think like, especially like nowadays, like I'm seeing my parents get old and older, and like before it was always like, oh yeah, like I would idolize my parents and be like, oh my gosh, they're like gonna be young forever. But then now I've seen like the reversal of who's taking care of each other change, whereas like I feel like I have a duty to take care of my parents more, and I guess like be there for them the way that they were there for me when I was a child, and like I guess like repay them for like taking like bringing me up. It's really hard to bring up a child, but it's interesting to see the dynamics shift as well.
I also wanted to say how, like, you're talking about the example of English extension. I love how you went through that moment, but then how you converted it in your head, and then it proved something to you, and then like how now you come back to it. Like, it's very nice, like, you know how they say convert pain into purpose? You kind of did something like that, so that's really nice. Like, you can always like refer back to that within yourself.
Because like nowadays, like I'm not doing extension to English anymore. I'm in uni. I'm like, nowadays it's more like in the job or the workspace, and you have like, you're dealing with senior managers and you're dealing with people, like, of course, like, you should listen to people who are experienced, and you will get advice from so many people. But for now, it's like, and like sometimes the advice can be conflicting between like whoever said stuff, but like now I know, because I picked and choose my advice before, I'm going to apply that same principle and like choose the advice that remains true to myself, and it remains true to my values.
And sometimes if you don't follow the rules, that's how you create like change or innovation.
Definitely.
If you were to tell yourself one thing, would it be to love yourself more or to trust yourself more, and why?
I think it would definitely be to trust yourself more, because I would say that I love myself a lot and I take care of myself well too, but I guess it just stems back to that trusting yourself and really being more conscious with your actions and the thoughts that you attribute to it as well. So trust is definitely something that
I think
I need to work on.
It depends on your different stage of life. I'd say if I was talking to like early teenager Hritu, like when you're a teenager, everything's like, you're just experiencing so many new emotions, new feelings, things like that. I'd say I was personally more critical of myself in high school when I was like younger. I'd say like you should, like in that moment of time, like you should love yourself more. But now that I'm in uni, I'd say I've really worked on my self-love, and I do take care of myself a lot. And I like do repair my inner child. So I do love myself there. And for me personally, I'd say in your 20s you should trust yourself a bit more, because so much is changing. You have to make so many hard decisions. Self-trust will help you build upon your self-love. So I think invest in trusting yourself and developing that trust within yourself.
Yeah. Do you think there's a link between self-love and self-trust? Does loving ourselves make us trust ourselves more and vice versa? And if you want to answer with like specific examples or situations or experiences you've been through.
I'd say yes. There is a direct correlation between the two. They're quite interconnected, self-love and self-trust. Yeah, I'd say for self-love it's always improved when you show up for yourself. And so you need an element of self-trust. Like using the gym, for example, like when I go to the gym, when I work out, when I do physical activity, it's like an act of me showing up for myself. It's an act of like choosing this healthier lifestyle so I feel good and so I can feel healthy. And so like my self-love is increased the more I go to the gym, and my self-trust, like I have to trust myself that I will wake up in the morning and choose to put on my outfit and choose to go on the Stairmasters for however long I go, and like I choose to do these hard things so I can love myself more. And I trust, and you have to like trust yourself that you will be consistent. And if you aren't consistent with the gym, like if you do like not, like if you skip a gym, like a session or something like that, like don't beat yourself up that you skipped it. It's the act of like consistently like moving on and being resilient and still showing up regardless of the failures or the lack of. And that is where self-trust lies. It's like the act of like consistency and resilience. And that is also very tied to self-love.
Yeah.
I think you tied it up really well.
Yeah. I was going to say something when you were talking, like a lot of ideas came in my mind. I feel like the key to like self-trust is discipline. Like as you were saying, showing up again and again, and consistency. Because you can just show up once, but that doesn't make you trust yourself that you're going to come back and do more gym work. So you're just going to be consistent with it. And then with self-love, I feel also just proving to yourself. We were talking about how like sometimes we want to like prove to others or like get validation from others. But I think if we just do small things that prove to ourselves that we're capable or that we're achieving something, I feel that can also help feed into our self-love and self-trust.
Yeah, I really like the concept of like proving things to yourself, and like you don't have to prove it to the world. Like you just need to prove it to yourself.
Yeah, and no one needs to know.
Yeah, no one needs to know. I think back to Tam Kaur again. I really liked her self-love podcast. She has this thing called a portfolio of proof. So she like writes down like all her small and major wins, and like she keeps it up somewhere, and like she reminds herself. So whenever she feels anxious about doing something, and I've also like started practicing this. Whenever I feel like, oh, like I'm too scared to put my hand up in class, or oh, I'm too scared to apply for that job opportunity, or like when I feel that sense of self-doubt, I'm like, well, hold up, wait, no. I look at my portfolio of proof. I'm like, I did this. Like, I've survived X, Y, Z. Like, I did this hard thing before. I've survived hard things, and I have that resilience. And then it helps me with the confidence of showing up, and it helps me continue and put myself out there, even when initially, like, I don't feel like I can. So that's really useful. Yeah. And even with the self-trust thing and how it's connected to consistency, I feel like consistency just has like this idealistic rep of like, like I'm gonna wake up at 5 a.m. and go to the gym every single day and be consistent and do those 2-hour sessions or whatever. But consistency does not have to look like that. You know, like some days you might wake up and you're like so tired. Consistency doesn't mean you need to go and do the 2-hour session. You can do a 20-minute walk, or you can do some like a more softer side of it. Like I think a big part of self-love is also knowing when to be kind to yourself and giving yourself breaks and giving yourself grace and kindness throughout your life, and not always just being like really strict. I want to say something about what you said.
Oh, about consistency.
Yeah.
I've realized something like with my studies, sometimes the assignments that they give us, they're pretty chunky and like they take a lot of time to do. So like what I do is, or like what I've learned to do is like I do small parts each time over time, which is basically consistency. And I feel like that helps me to finish it. Whereas like when I first started uni, I would just sit down and be like, okay, I need to finish this whole essay now, or like half the essay. But like that's not possible sometimes. So just small chunks over time, like, and you measure it over how much time you have, then that's how you can get it done. And that just shows that consistency doesn't have to be wake up at 5 a.m, finish at 5 p.m. Like just a little bit every day goes a long way.
Yeah. I feel like I do a similar thing.
Yeah.
Like when I get the due date for an assignment, I pretend that it's due the week before.
Yeah.
And then that makes me like, like research early,
Exactly.
do things early, get my first draft early, and then I refine it. And then, I see better results with that. So it's, just being mindful about what you can achieve and, pushing yourself to do a little bit more.
Yeah. Even with like self-love, and you were saying how like some days you got to give yourself different levels of work.
Yeah.
Like I remember, I think a couple of weeks ago, I woke up, I was not feeling good at all, and like I had a whole plan of like I need to do this. No way was I going to do that. But like usually I was someone who's like harsh on themselves. So that day I was like, you know what, I don't want to be harsh on myself anymore. So then I was like, let me try something different. So what I did is I literally opened like my notes app, and then I wrote a message to my inner child. I was like, today you're not feeling well. You can just not feel well. You don't have to do any of this stuff. Like I was so kind to myself. And then once I finished, I'm reading back on it, and then I felt so much more better.
Yeah.
You know, when like someone, for example, gives you a hug and then you feel better, I felt like I gave myself that hug by giving myself the permission not to do anything because I'm tired. And then I read over it a couple of days later, and then it still had that same impact. So I feel like that's like something I would continue with in the future, and maybe like a piece of advice for people if you're harsh on yourself, or if sometimes you just wake up out of it, you don't want to do anything, just call it like a permission note or permission card. Like at school they would give us permission slips or whatever it is. Give it to yourself. Okay, we've reached the end. One more question. Finally, what value does our society offer members and or executives to work on their self-love and self-trust? How does our society help contribute to an enhanced sense of self?
Well, I'd say a big part of like community plays such a big role in our lives. Like we're Homo sapiens, we're communal creatures. And have you heard of like the 5 chimp theory as well?
I think so.
Like the theory is like you are the reflection of the 5 closest people in your life. And so like for me, I'm now a bit more intentional about who is part of my 5 friend circle, or like who is going to be the most closest to me, because I think environment really does impact your mentality and the people you surround yourself with. And so I found that like in the past, if I didn't have a support network, or if I was surrounded by negative people, or also people who are like, the competitive aspect of like they think of like they see your success as like a thing that's taking away from them. Like I would like hanging around like people like that is just like not that great. But I think the value in our society is every single person is just so lovely and very positive and like very self-aware as well. And I love how our community is fostered on personal growth, but everyone is hyping each other up, and it's such a positive environment that like now my five chimps, the people who are really close to me, they really do make me be a better person and see the world differently, because I get to talk to people who are not from my degree. I get to talk to people who are interested in so many wide things, and I learn something from every single conversation I have, rather than being limited in the conversations. And I also feel like our society is like really family, very like wholesome. It's so wholesome and so like family-like. It's like a really safe place that stays stable while everything in life, like everything in uni, is constantly changing. But it's like such a nice place to stay. And so being surrounded by people who are loving and people who also love themselves, like it helps you also love yourself and like grow. It's like when you're planting a seed. Like I think the society is like the rain, the nutrients, your environment that helps you flourish into a beautiful plant.
Yeah, that's a nice way of visualizing it.
It's the poet in me. But yeah, like that's how I see the society. It's the environment in which I'm growing my soul, and so like I feel really connected and very positive. The the environment the society provides.
Yeah, I'm also like that. I feel that strong sense of belonging to our society. And as you said, like we all do different degrees.
Yeah.
Like sometimes in your own degree, you kind of get pigeonholed, like to think in a particular way. Like, and everyone has that same interest. Like that's pretty much what creates the friendships in like our majors, that we have that interest of
It's
same
like
law.
situational, very situational relationships. Yeah.
Whereas here, even like our society, we're not, for example, a matcha society where it's just matcha. We're like,
Not to diss on them.
not to diss on them. Like, if you love matcha, love matcha.
We love matcha.
But like personal growth, it's so broad. Like how you defined it was different to how you define it, different to how I define it, different to how everyone else defines it. So you can always find something and inspirations and just maybe people to keep you accountable on like what you want to achieve.
Yeah.
I'd like to say that a few things that I like about this society are basically like the events that we hold. Like, you know, weekly catch-ups, like coffee catch-ups, and, you know, going on hikes, going to the gym together. I feel like those are things that I'm just genuinely passionate about. And, you know, to be able to do this with people that I meet from uni and, you know, do this with the community, I feel like that really makes me feel fulfilled. Yeah.
I think also our community is very real.
Yeah.
There's no masks. There's no fakeness. We're just all here like trying to improve ourselves, and you can't improve yourself if you're fake or if you've got a mask on. Like, you got to be authentic with yourself.
Yeah, I think there's just so much empathy. Like, even though like I haven't gone through the exact same experiences like everyone else, but like we still can empathize in such a deep way. And like it's just so understanding and so safe, and like no one's telling you what's right or wrong. Like everyone is just there, and they like hold, like they like kind of like hold your emotions, and they also like inspire you to do better, or not do, like it inspires you to become a better person and grow together rather than isolate. And I think it's so easy in uni to, you know, go to uni, go to work, go home, go gym, like just like go from face to face. But I think like even like the small moments of like breaks between my classes when I'm hanging out with some of our execs as well, like it's like just so nice to like bump into them. Like it feels like, you know, it feels like uni has a sense of comfort, like a safe place, and so it's not like I'm very mechanical like with my social circle as well. It's like more intentional, it's more fun, and it definitely ties back to the soul pillar of personal growth.
And I definitely feel like when I was younger, my vision of uni was that, you know, I'm going to meet so many different people, I'm going to have so much fun,
movies.
I'm going to, you know, find so many different friends. But, you know, coming into this environment where it was a little bit like more full on, like I was kind of lost in the, you know, the uni workload and then the corporate workload and so forth. But I feel like this society really makes me break down and be like, yep, this is my uni life. I'm going to have so many meaningful connections, meet new people, and like have people that I really want to be friends with for life. Because that's what I want from it. You know, I want people that I'm going to, you know, invite to my engagement, invite to my wedding. I want people that I'm going to, you know, meet up after work and, you know, talk about our different careers.
We could be 80 years old. I remember the time where we were part of Personal Growth Society. Like, the good memories.
Hopefully our society's still around 80 years later.
Build a legacy strong, and then,
definitely.
keep it going.
And I think also something that helps with all like these points is that we're going to have like weekly growth gathers again weekly starting from week 4. That also helps create that sense of community that you come back to at the end of your day, whether you had a long week, like a slower week. Like it's just something to de-stress, to just be around people, be held, as you said. So come to those.
Yes, we'd love to see you there.
I love to yap with everyone.
We are yappy.
Okay, something new that we're going to add to our podcast starting this episode with you guys is a motivational quote at the end. I've got one for self-love and one for self-trust. The one for self-trust, you mentioned something like very close to what. I'll start with that one. Trust yourself, you've survived a lot and you will survive whatever is coming. That's by Robert Chu. And then the self-love one is stop hating yourself for everything you wish you were and start loving yourself for everything that you are.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I felt that.
It just hits.
I just like imagine like a baby picture of myself and like everything I am. It's just like, how could I be mean to that little version of myself?
It's a full circle moment now. Thank you, Ameesha and Hritu, for your time today and all of your great insights. It was a pleasure having you on the podcast. And to our audience, thank you for listening today. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Please feel free to put your comments under the video and subscribe to see like our latest content releases. In the meantime, take care of yourself and keep working on yourself, but do it in a gentle, self-loving way. And whenever it gets tough, just take a breath, take a pause, take a break, feel the emotions that come up, and then just keep moving forward. But when you keep moving forward, move forward with self-love and self-trust.